I'm sure you've heard the news about Sarah's mysterious disappearance. It was the talk of the town, a chilling story that sent shivers down everyone's spine. People whispered about it in hushed tones, speculating what could have happened to her on that fateful night. Sarah was driving down a narrow, isolated road, her GPS dead, and no signal to call for help. The night was pitch black, the kind of darkness that seemed to swallow everything. She felt a growing sense of unease, the kind that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. The tall trees loomed like dark figures, their branches reaching toward her like skeletal hands. The mist hung low, creating an eerie atmosphere that made it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. Every shadow seemed to move, every rustle of leaves sounded like a whisper. Suddenly, her headlights caught a glimpse of a figure in the road. It was a fleeting moment, but enough to make her heart race. She squinted, trying to make out the details through the foggy windshield. A woman, drenched and wearing a torn, old-fashioned white dress. She looked out of place, like she had stepped out of a different era. The rain poured down, plastering the dress to her body, making her look even more ghostly. Blood stained the fabric. It was a stark contrast against the white, a gruesome sight that made Sarah's stomach churn. She couldn't tear her eyes away, a mix of horror and curiosity rooting her to the spot. Sarah asked, "Are you okay?" No response. The woman just stood there, silent and still, as if she hadn't heard Sarah at all. The silence was deafening, adding to the growing tension. She stepped out, cautiously approaching. Each step felt like an eternity, her heart pounding louder with every inch she closed between them. She wanted to help, but something about the woman made her skin crawl. The woman's eyes were hollow, her grin sinister. It was a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a smile that spoke of something dark and malevolent. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, a primal fear taking hold. "You shouldn't have stopped," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, but the words were clear. They sent a jolt of terror through Sarah, making her take a step back. Sarah stumbled back, leaping into her car. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with the keys, desperate to get away. The sense of urgency was overwhelming, her mind racing with fear, but the engine wouldn't start. She turned the key again and again, but the car remained silent. Panic set in, her breaths coming in short, frantic gasps. The woman pressed her face against the window, grinning wider. Too late. Her eyes bore into Sarah's, a look of triumph in them. It was as if she knew there was no escape. Sarah's scream was swallowed by the forest. The dense trees and thick mist absorbed the sound, leaving nothing but an eerie silence in its wake. It was as if the forest itself was complicit in her fate. The next morning, police found her car. No Sarah. The scene was eerily quiet, the car sitting abandoned in the middle of the road. The officers exchanged worried glances, knowing this was no ordinary disappearance, just a blood-stained dress draped across the seat. It was the only clue, a haunting reminder of the night's events. The dress lay there, a silent witness to whatever had transpired. What happened to Sarah? The question lingered in the air, unanswered. The townspeople were left to wonder, their imaginations running wild with possibilities. The forest keeps its secrets. It stood there, silent and imposing, as if mocking those who sought answers. The mist swirled around the trees, hiding whatever truths lay within.